Malinga, who is a beneficiary of a scholarship and a fellowship of the Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela Scholarship and Fellowship. Let me put it in the right order. You know, we've been chatting, and we've been chatting more off air than on air, actually. And I've been enjoying our conversation. I wish that South Africa could have been listening to what we've been saying as well. But just, you know, your lessons learned from him, your opportunities that have been given, and particularly with reference to education.
Let me start by saying that the biggest lesson is that where you come from has nothing to do with where you will be in life. Yeah. I was born in Vosloorus, and I'm still a very proud person to be coming from the township in South Africa. And very often in South Africa, young people from other so-called less privileged backgrounds or, you know, marginalized societies, rural or so forth, seem to believe that they cannot achieve their dreams, or, you know, there's a ceiling of sorts. And we need to always remember that Madiba himself came from a very rural background, and that did not stop him from achieving his dreams. So the sense of self-belief within yourself and believing that you can achieve anything that you wish to achieve is very critical. But what he did that was significant is that he understood that what determines one child's success over another is more exposure and the cultivating and the nurturing of capabilities. Yeah. And that alone goes a long way for us to ensure that the future generation is exposed and is given the right platforms in order to flourish from that foundation. Yeah. As for Mandela himself, I think the greatest lessons and the investment in education is not merely an investment in education for the sake of education. I think he systematically ensured that we see South Africans going out of the country. We see South Africans understanding that the world is going to be globalized and we're going to need a very broad-minded type of leadership. He saw a need for us to understand global dynamics but apply them locally. And the greatest challenge is coming back to South Africa now and having to connect all that worldly experience and having relevance at the bottom of the pyramid, which is at grassroots level, which is what he was all about. So how do we transcend from the IQ level, the heads, the thinking, to a heart level where you're able to go down into your community and are able to relate and empower people with what you've experienced and you've shared abroad? Most critically, I just want to say that his leadership signature was very much about collaboration, inclusiveness, humility, and service to people. And the greatest tribute we can ever give this man is not necessarily what we say, is how we authentically live these values. So how collaborative are we in engaging as a country? How do we ensure that we hear other voices? In moments of conflict or where we differ in opinions, how do we take from that lesson that we have to have uncomfortable conversations over difficult matters in this country? It's not about shying away from that, but sitting around the table until you find a solution to that. That is what he left us with. Inclusiveness. How do we ensure that people who are less privileged or who are marginalized in society also enjoy the benefits that your freedom or where you're standing, you're enjoying? How do we ensure that people with disabilities, how do we ensure that youth, how do we ensure that women, how do we ensure that sometimes people from other foreign nationals who exist or who are in South Africa also have a rightful role to play in South Africa and in developing this country? And how do we ensure that other conversations that are probably not too mainstream, for example, how do we ensure that you know, issues around violence, issues around the environment, you know, issues around health are also catered in our broader conversations? Humility to me speaks very much to a leadership that is comfortable both at the highest level of society, maybe even globally, and equally at home, you know, is still relevant, is able to connect and able to influence positively. If we can take those lessons going forward and not speak about them, but demonstrate them in everything that we do, we would have gone a long way in keeping the legacy alive. not just to be like him, as I said before,
Yeah.
but maybe some of us hold the keys to how we can take this nation forward post-Codesa, post, the new democratic dispensation, post 20 years of freedom, and maybe create a bigger legacy, not just for South Africa, but for the continent.
I just want to ask you this question again about education, and I'm not actually sure if many South Africans know this out there, but you read a story, and let me tell you that Madiba actually persuaded his son Makgato, even after he had children, to go back to school and study further. I mean, you truly do get a sense that he was this passion for education that he had. It wasn't something that he just spoke about. I mean, it was something he lived, and he made his family live as well.
It's very important for us to understand that the word education itself means to transform from within. It means to have a revelation from within and create a new reality. So education can never be just a formal experience. Education starts from when you were born. We teach as parents, we teach as communities, we teach in various ways. So the educational process of educating a child or a human being in society is always an ongoing process. It never stops. There's a lot that we enjoyed, or we benefited from in Mandela, from his traditional home when he was young, in Vezo, Kunu. Still, there was relevance to the formal education. And once you've got at that, it is very important for you to still learn more then about society. How do you then translate this education that you have and make it relevant to the broader society? That's another form of skill, of leadership, of an education. So I think he demonstrated that you learn from cradle to grave, and it has to do with humility. If you come to a point in your life where you feel educated, that's probably the worst point you can ever come to.
Before I wrap up our interview, I think we just need to give a sense to the viewers out there what you've actually gone and done, because with everything, with the scholarship and the fellowship, you are a Harvard graduate. So just where have you actually gone and studied and furthered in your career, and what have you qualified as? Well, let's start the list, I should say, the list of qualifications.
I think I must start by saying that I actually first left South Africa when I was 16. I was awarded the United World College's scholarship at the age of 16 that granted me an IB, which is an international baccalaureate qualification. Then I came back to South Africa. I did that in Canada, came back to South Africa to study my law degree. And I also studied politics at the same time. So I had a law degree and also had an honors in political science. When I got the Nelson Mandela scholarship, I decided to do international political economy, because it's very important for us to understand the global dynamics in South Africa and how Africa fits into the global picture. And then eventually I did the Harvard leadership. And that was critical for me, because it's very important that in everything that we learn, we're able to translate, not in complex terms, but in simple terms, why, as I often say, collaboration and inclusiveness is relevant in our society going forward. So that has been the journey, and I don't think it ever stops. I feel now I'm more in the journey of life. I lead in various areas, but the most impactful area for me is the area of community, and how one can actually be able to go back on the ground and ensure that there's institutions and there's systems on the ground that will empower our society, not just from top down, but from bottom up.
It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Ntombi, thank you very much for being our guest here on the program, and also just enjoy your experience tomorrow, because it's an unbelievable experience, as we are witnessing on the screen now. Many people are already filing in and lining up to go and view the body